Yes, I'm back in Hawaii, as you can see. Happy to be back. Kimmy's happy I'm back. Marley's happy I'm back. Beautiful morning here on Lanai, and it's vote day, election day. So I don't know, thought it'd be appropriate to share a couple of thoughts quickly about election day. So I realize we're about, even the people that listen to me, we're about split right down the middle, conservative versus liberal, very passionate on both sides. And I get it. I enjoy being in the middle as an independent. Totally agree with some conservative viewpoints and totally agree with some liberal viewpoints. And too bad we don't have a strong independent party in this country where we vote the ideas and we vote the person, not the party. But nonetheless, today is the day where we find out, even if it's a crazy system, right? It can come down to 1,000 people in one county, in one state, decide whether everybody has to follow a conservative agenda or everybody has to follow a liberal agenda. And there doesn't seem to be anything in the middle. And the middle is what's missing, folks. Because, you know, you can be for the environment and for business. You don't have to be one or the other. And maybe the businesses change if you're for the environment, right? Like I just read the other day, I'm sure it's not true because I read it, but that there are twice as many people employed by the green movement, by alternative energy sources than there is oil and gas. So when it comes to business, you know, you can either be Exxon or you can be BP. That's an interesting Google for you. Google Exxon and Google BP, the stock price of both companies in the last 5 years, even after BP's catastrophic oil spill, which maybe is what responsible for changing their attitude. But BP has doubled down in alternative energy sources in the last 5 to 10 years in their investments. Wind, solar, all kinds of energy sources. Exxon instead doubled down on oil and gas. And Exxon has failed so miserably in the last 5 years that they're no longer part of the Dow Industrial Averages on the stock market. They're toast. They're over. It's all done for them. But BP, which is also an oil and gas company, because they're looking to the future, raging, doing great, right? So just something to think about. But here's the most important message of the day. Vote and be happy. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look back in the last 100 or 200 years of our country, look at the periods of time where there was a conservative political agenda running the country, passing laws, putting people on the Supreme Court, and doing whatever they do, executive orders, right? The conservatives were running the country. Maybe it was for 4 years, maybe it was 8 years. And good things happened and bad things happened, right? And then, you know, usually because people get too tired of one way, there's kind of a backlash. And now for another 4 or 8 years, we have a liberal agenda running the country. So we go back the other way, we go back this way, we go back that way. And of course, you know, the health of the democracy of the United States of America, the health of our country as an idea is not a microcosm on what happens this year. It's not even a microcosm on what happens to you and I, right? The United States of America as an idea, a concept of democracy and freedom, it can't pay attention to whether or not we're making more money or our stocks are going up or, you know, we're getting to have some freedoms that we particularly like and want and are important to us. It's not about us individually. It's about the future of this concept. Like, where's democracy going to be 50 or 100 years from now? Where's the United States of America going to be? And I heard somebody say this morning something pretty profound, that the one thing that separates the United States of America from perhaps every other country is when we make mistakes, we correct them over time. And so if you look at the last 100 years, right? We've had conservative agendas running our country. We've had liberal agendas running our country. And I'm not saying we're even the best country in the world. We're not, you know, our infant mortality rate is not even the best country in the world. You know, we're the highest in the percentage of our population that's incarcerated. And, you know, we have the highest percentage of a population death toll from COVID. We're not the number one in the country in the world for a lot of things. But if you look at our country, we're still the best country in the world. I mean, where would you rather live? You want to live in Ecuador? You want to live in Venezuela? You want to live in Iran? You want to live in France? Really? You want to live in the UK? Really? I mean, maybe for a short period of time, but for the rest of your life? Only if you're financially independent. Like if you're still working and raising a family and making a living. You want to live in Spain? You want to live in Mexico? You want to live in Ireland? I don't know, maybe. But probably not. This is still the greatest country in the world for our future. And so what I say is, whatever happens in the election today, be happy. Not because perhaps you like the next 4 years agenda, but how about just be happy because, hey, whatever happens in the next 4 years is going to get corrected in the next 4 to 12 years. And so it's an ebb and a flow. And I realize if you're 70 or 80 years old, you may think, oh, you only have 4 or 5 or 10, 15 years left, you know. But hey, then what I would say is look back on the last 70 years. And are you better off now than when you were 12 years old? I'll bet you are. Why? Because you live in the United States of America. So how about we don't blow stuff up? How about we don't burn stuff up? How about we don't go on social media and act like a bunch of idiots, just displaying our stupidity? I looked up the definition of ignorance and stupidity the other day. Ignorance is not knowing. You just don't know. You're not in an environment, perhaps, to have the information, to act responsibly, to act like an adult, to act in a way that moves things forward in a positive way. Stupidity is you have access to the information, you've heard the information, and in spite of the validity of the information, which I know is like, well, how do we know it's valid? I get that. But in spite of what might be very valid information, we don't even consider it. We don't even study it. We don't even analyze it. We don't even vet it to consider that maybe we're wrong. We just go on with our rhetoric and our rant and our bias, and that's stupidity. And so let's not be stupid as a country, right? Whoever wins, let them win. And legitimately win, which I know is probably going to be the ugliest, stupidest thing about this election. We're going to have an indication tonight, and then it's all going to go in the courts. So we vote and we have an election, and that's supposed to determine who wins. But if it's the least bit close, that's not going to determine who wins. The courts are going to determine who wins. That's going to take another 2 months. So settle in, and let's not be stupid. And whoever wins, we're going to be okay, right? Look at the long view. We're always okay. We're always better off long term. And so if your party doesn't win, then let them have their time and rally a bigger vote next time. And that's what I have to say about Daily Dose of Salt. If you think this has value, share it. If you don't, delete it. See you tomorrow.